bizarre. I enjoy a good documentary. Okay, I tend to watch more documentaries than anything else. And now I decided I want to dive into YouTube documentaries. YouTube content creators that do documentary style videos or just like full on report videos. I think they're super cool and creative. YouTubes are hella underrated by big budget or indie developers when it comes to film. And now it's my time to check out this creator in particular, Aubrey. So stick around, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to support the original channel. Don't be a dickhead. Support the original channel. Link to the description below is a link to the original video. Support that. But hey, while you're here, support me too by smacking that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave it a comment. Let's get it.
A federal judge has ordered the release of the identities of dozens of people mentioned in the court documents related to convicted pedophile.
I didn't have a technical issue. No, you have no proof. YouTube has no proof. Yeah.
Epstein was an operator. Even if you take the absolute minimalist view of what Epstein could have been up to, I mean, he was a.
I edit this channel, so they won't know.
How many other people has this happened to? How many other stories are sitting in a vault, in an ABC News or an NBC News vault, of powerful people that they wanted to preserve their relationship with?
Okay, this is fucking sick. Holy. Dude, the editing, the visuals, the sound? What? Insane. Insane.
On the morning of December 5th.
I'm sorry, this is genuinely better than some of the documentaries I watch that are funded for like at least 2 to 5 million. Like, this is why YouTube content creators are just what the future is. Like, put real investment and money behind channels like this. You know what I'm saying? To like those big ass, because as somebody who like worked with a lot of producers in my time, especially back in film, like you're backing the wrong people. Back people like this who have a like, oh my god, just insanely. I know it's external from the content of what the video is about. It just blows my mind.
2010, Woody Allen was photographed here with his wife and stepdaughter, leaving the Upper East Side mansion of New York. Financier, and at that point, recently convicted pedophile Jeffrey Edward Epstein. Over a decade ago, I doubt the average American had even heard the name Jeffrey Epstein. Yet, the 57-year-old had just gotten off house arrest for soliciting a minor for prostitution and registered as a sex offender only 3 months prior to the big celebration he was throwing for the Duke of York, and then fourth in line to the throne, Prince Andrew, as journalist Alexandra Wolf reported all the way back in 2011. While several of his guests that day, which included the ABC anchor George Stephanopoulos, CBS personalities Katie Couric and Charlie Rose, and comedian Chelsea Handler, have all expressed regret for not doing more research into their host, except for Charlie Rose, who was actually pretty close to Epstein and would even meet girls through him.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. If you're friends with somebody who's 1 into minors, and 2 convicted, and 3 you seek girls and can get connected to them through them, oh my god. Oh. Oh. Listen, the thing is, for Epstein, I knew like Epstein's a piece of shit. I know like the preliminary stuff around it. Like I think I know the bare bones of what everyone else knows when it comes to Epstein. But my base knowledge is not vast enough to know the interconnections of others, besides us all wanting to know who the fuck is on the list and who's actually been to his island and shit, right?
All of these people were convening that day in a $77 million mansion that would later be dubbed a House of Depravity by Epstein's victims. Physicist Lawrence Krauss, despite knowing exactly why Epstein had spent time in jail, told the Daily Beast in 2011, "I do not feel tarnished in any way by my relationship with Jeffrey. I feel raised by it."
I'm sorry. Tee up real quick. I I don't think I've ever been like, yo, a child predator, you raise me up so I can stand on mountains. Towards a CP motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way I'm like, yo, that's the GOAT. Like, insane behavior.
Everyone and their dog is now aware that Jeffrey Epstein had connections in the highest of high places, but the specific nature of those connections has always largely been shrouded in mystery, and that may be by design. These connections include, but of course are not limited to, well-respected scientists, scholars, actors, lawyers, real estate moguls, US presidents, and international leaders from all around the globe. While Prince Andrew's now infamous camaraderie with Epstein made quite the splash in British media 10 years ago,
Prince Andrew's ex-wife was given £15,000 by his American friend Jeffrey Epstein to pay off some of her debts. That friend...
Oh. Oh. Uncomfortable laughter.
a convicted sex offender.
the American press stayed unusually quiet back then. This Daily Beast article was one exception, but even Wolf herself asks in it why nobody, particularly New York socialites, seemed to know or even care about what Epstein had just admitted to doing in Palm.
Do you know why? Do you know why they don't care? Because every one of those motherfuckers got even crazier dirt in their own lives. And they're worried about, oh, if I judge him, my shit's gonna get leaked. So we gotta just act like nothing's happening. That's it, right? It's like you gotta move shady if you are shady. That's the reality of life.
Palm Beach. Remember, this dinner party happened 3 years after Epstein very publicly pled guilty to procuring a minor for sex, and 8 years before he would be arrested again on federal charges of human trafficking, then die under mysterious circumstances that remain the subject of intense debate today, even becoming somewhat of a running joke.
Thank you so much, James.
Yep. And remember, Epstein didn't kill himself.
Okay, got it. Very clever. What?
And now, with a judge recently ordering...
Oh no, she uncomfortable laughs like I do. No. Oh, speaking of uncomfortable laughing, super weird tangent. So my sister and I were in the car the other day, and she goes, "Did you take my phone?" Because sometimes I take her phone when we go out together, because I don't like when people like are on their phones, or like sometimes she pulls out her phone when she's driving, and I like that pisses me the fuck off. So I just yoink the phone out of her hands and I hide it in my side seat, right? So she couldn't find her phone, and she's like, "Did you take my phone?" And I have this thing where I can't help it. I naturally laugh a lot, right? You guys probably noticed that by watching my content. I laugh all the time because my brain is just wired that way. And when someone is accusatory towards me, I start to giggle. So I started giggling, and she goes, "You fucking rat. Like, give me my phone." And I'm like, "I didn't take it. I didn't take it. Looking guilty as shit. But I really didn't take it." And then she found it in her pocket. I'm like, see, I just have guilty energy, okay? Now imagine if I actually was guilty of something. That's how I act when I'm innocent. Holy fuck. These socialites and like these motherfuckers are actually sociopaths. Like, it's insane. Like, it's so crazy how they just don't have that like anxiousness about like being a bastard.
Thousands of past court documents to be unsealed, Epstein and friends are back under the spotlight of public scrutiny once again, with all the pop-bass, pop-crave, poo-crave Twitter accounts teasing the news like it was a new Travis Scott album or something. For a while, you can even place bets on which celebrities might be exposed as an Epstein client.
Did you see?
Oh, I knew that Charlie betted on this. I knew about that. In her pocket? Yeah, it was in her pocket. She was wearing a jacket, so I think she just checked her inner pocket, but not her outer pocket. That's all.
Bet Online is letting people bet money on who will be on the Epstein list. I'm doing that right now. Wait, what? An official betting pool for it? Harvey Weinstein, easy slam dunk. Hillary, probably. Joe Biden, I think he's probably too old. Like, I don't even think he knows what planes are right now.
Which is a long way of saying that despite the man himself being long gone, the Epstein saga is anything but over. This story has fascinated and frustrated me for as long as I've been paying attention to it. And the more you dig in, the more questions seem to crop up. It's a complex tale, often mired in conspiracy and littered with political interests.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy,
Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
My brother in Christ, you were on the plane. This video.
Okay, actually, just based as fuck. I just subscribed to his channel. Yeah, dude. Him just saying, my brother in Christ, you were on the plane. And him saying it just like that just sold the shit out of me. That was so good. Liking it too. Holy fuck. The way he said that got me. Oh my
Video
god.
not only attempts to outline the years-long behavior Epstein and company were said to participate in, it's also about shedding light on what we still don't know, and what we may very well never know. We won't get to everything today, since this is only one part of what will eventually be a 3-part series, but I hope it
He
can
has
at
2
least
parts
be a
out right now.
starting point
That's
for
cool.
those not as privy to the timeline of the late trafficker's reign of terror, and those who maintained correspondence with the man even after his guilt became abundantly clear. Everyone now knows the name Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
but the question I intend on answering is how it all came to this.
Tonight, more
Oh, that's
newly
cool as fuck, 'cause I have
unsealed
no
court
idea.
documents just released involving accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein.
Tonight, the blast radius from Jeffrey Epstein's reach continues to grow.
The accuser in the case did claim that she met the former president on Epstein's private island.
Jeffrey Epstein's mansion was a hive of activity today amid uproar over his suicide behind bars.
Jeffrey Epstein victims recounted in sworn depositions about the many powerful and famous men they met in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit.
I don't know what to make out of these documents. I don't know how these lists were compiled. I have nothing to do with that. You know, that's not my business. What I'm concerned about is my brother's murder.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Oh. I feel like you should be concerned about lists. And oh. I feel like, I don't know, man. I don't give a fuck if you're a relative or not. If you're into some shady shit, I don't fuck with you. If you hurt others, especially kids, I just don't fuck with you. I've known him for 20 years. My blood runs in his veins. Alright, fuck his blood in his veins. He dead. Fuck him. God damn. I've dropped friends instantaneously the moment I found out they did some fucked up shit. Not even a moment of hesitation. The moment I found, like, listen, I've talked about this previously. I had a friend. She did something fucked up to a minor, and there was footage. And the moment someone showed me, I said, "Fuck that bitch! I don't know that bitch." Instantly, there was no camaraderie. There was no benefit of the doubt headassery. I said, "Get thee to a nunnery and get out the fuck of my life." Oh hell no!
Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Yes! We're talking about the same Jeff Epstein.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I never heard.
Oh, it was a big story in the news. Huge.
Jeff
Said,
Epstein.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure, with respect, if there was some news about Jeff Epstein, I would have heard.
But let's just pause.
The denial is crazy. The cold-faced denial is crazy.
For a moment here and allow today's sponsor Ground News to help us understand how Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Kimmel, and my mortal enemy as a Cowboys fan, Aaron Rodgers, all wound up
That
in
last clip was a bit. Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
the same sentence recently. See, the Ground News app and website gather related news articles from around the world and provide context about the source of the information for a more accurate understanding of current events. So when Aaron Rodgers suggested Jimmy Kimmel was associated with Epstein on Pat McAfee's show, you can imagine how the internet responded. But with Ground News, I can see that out of 150 articles, the majority of the coverage has come from either left or center-leaning publications. I can see all the ways the media chose to frame the controversy. Scripts highlighting Jimmy's response, setting the record straight that he's never been in contact with Epstein, while Breitbart's preview mentioned how upset Aaron got for the way the media, including ESPN, tried to cancel him instead of focusing on the real criminal. But The Hill showed me a quote from Aaron saying he understands why Jimmy got so upset he threatened to sue, but he's also not stupid enough to seriously make a claim like that with zero evidence. Seeing these different angles on the same story in one place with clear markers highlighting a source's political leaning, reliability, accountability and ownership, so I'm aware of any bias that could be affecting its reporting, is one of the most interesting features of ground news. I feel like I can truly trust my perception of the world because I'm not getting my news from just one potentially biased source. So check it out for yourself by going to ground.news.
That is actually super cool. Huh. That's a cool sponsor.
/Jobbery right now.
If out of any sponsor you get, that is the most on-brand sponsor for what he does. So
you can even get 30% off.
That's a great ad.
Plan if you subscribe through.
I hit the
link,
pause
which
where
is
I
what
was like,
use,
huh,
or
that
try
was
it for less than
that was
$1 this month. Huge thanks again to the wonderful people at Ground News for sponsoring this video and helping us all see through.
Ground News sponsors a lot of reliable folks too. That's cool.
Saw lots of people doing lots of hard work, and hard work didn't translate into success either. It wasn't what you do or how hard you work. And what I learned in Dalton later is lots of it, in fact, turns out to be not necessarily who you knew, but who you came in contact with.
One of the most robust biographies of Jeffrey Epstein we have was written by his own legal defense team following his initial indictment in Palm Beach. Handed over to state prosecutors in 2007 by one of Epstein's lawyers, who also made sure to attach a smug, handwritten note that read, "Enjoy some fun reading on your defendant." Obtained in 2019 by the Palm Beach Post, the generous wording of this thing should be entirely expected. I mean, it was written by his defense team after all. It glowingly recounts all the times Epstein lent a helping hand to the people around him, and including
I may have diddled a child, but think of my charity work.
Fucking dickheads, man. This is why I hate politics. Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is beyond politics. This is just pedophilia. This is just power and money getting to do whatever the fuck they want to.
Testimonies of former girlfriends Eva Anderson and Ghislaine Maxwell. Being sure to mention that the reason Epstein has shied away from becoming a parent is because the demands of his business would not allow him the kind of time and presence needed to be a good parent. I'm sure that's what it is. To back up a little.
Okay, chat. Pedophilia and politics are not one and the same. Come on, buddies. Come on. Listen, being angry at the political infrastructure of your country is totally fine, but there needs to be a sense of reason when it comes to what is legally and morally justified and not justified versus what politics are. I think it's a really big issue with especially Western countries, and especially the US in particular, is that humanitarian views get mixed into political stances, which is something very upsetting because humanitarian views shouldn't be tied into that because it's people's integral right to be who they are, which is seen as being a libertarian conviction, though when it comes to like financing and things like that, I have a more conservative view. So it's just unfortunate because it's like when you're voting with your own time and you're voting with your own money and dollars as well, and you're voting with your own literal vote, it's like you have to vote for what is the betterment of people. But the fact of it is that a lot of the time, the way that managed money and distribution of bills works causes it so that you're just getting screwed over in general when you vote liberal half the time. So it's like, fuck, man, I really gotta choose because of stupid humanitarian rights that should just be a given? Really? I don't agree with anything of their, like, that's exactly what happened in Canada, man. Oh, do you know how much I wanted to vote for the Conservative Party, but I couldn't because of their other stupid fucking points that they had? I was like, man, I have to vote Liberal every year, and I don't want to. Sometimes I voted NDP, but, like, I don't want to because financially, a lot of the sound decisions aren't in the Liberal side. But I have to because of humanitarian shit. And I'm like, why does this have to be involved? Like, just give people their basic human rights so I can vote on shit that matters for my government. Like, let people own their own bodies. Who fucking cares? God damn it. Anyways, so I get hella frustrated when it's like, because then there's something that has clarity, right? And that's the law. Because the law has clarity in the sense that it's based on the moral structures of a society. And it's like, bro, right? Like, okay, I'm good. Because when it comes to like that, at least you're like, oh, touching a kid is wrong. That is jailed. You are convicted. Simple as that, right? That is no longer politics. And do you know what else shouldn't be politics? Other humanitarian issues and wrongdoings. But I guess we don't fucking care. But yeah, I mean, it's the easiest way to convince people. Anyways, I'm good. Oh, I didn't know. I don't know how it is in Canada, but most of the world liberals and conservatives have the same economics, which are objectively shit. No. So when it comes to, like, you have to look at underlying bills that are trying to be pushed through with each election. And in addition to that, Canada's way of government is really fucked up. Because you vote for your political party in your region, in your municipality, and then based on your district, it also influences the next step. So, for example, I care about the political standing of my province that I'm in. So when I vote for my province, I'm like, oh fuck, this is going to end up giving extra seats to X, Y, and Z. So I have to care about that factor as well. So it's like, yeah, just being an adult is shit. Voting is shit. The infrastructure of politics is even more dog shit. And rage baiting tends to work, which is why I'm so angry, because, they rage bait the fuck out of me, and this is the
Well, here, it also notes that Epstein was born in Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York in January 1953. Jeffrey and his younger brother Mark were raised in a middle-class environment by their two parents, Pauline, a school aide, and Seymour, a groundskeeper for the city of New York. It's always mentioned that he liked to play the piano and that he did so well academically that he was able to graduate Lafayette High School 2 years early when he was just 16, before going on to study math and physics at the Cooper Union for a few years. Epstein never graduated, but he did transfer to NYU, where he would also not graduate. So the natural question becomes, how did a two-time college dropout get a job teaching math at the prestigious Dalton School the same year he left NYU behind? After
Does this motherfucker ever finish a degree?
After all, the Dalton schools produced a number of notable alumni, including Chevy Chase, Anderson Cooper, Sean Ono Lennon, and specifically while Epstein was there, Prudence Murdoch, daughter of Fox News founder Rupert Murdoch, and actress Jennifer Grey, according to NPR. The New York Times reports that the school's headmaster at the time Epstein was hired was Donald Barr, who, fun fact, is the father of William Barr, the U.S. Attorney General under Trump, who you may know for being in charge of the DOJ when Epstein died in custody decades later, which is just one of the many strange tidbits we'll see throughout this story, like the fact that Donald Barr once wrote a book called Space Relations, about a planet ruled by oligarchs who engage in child sex slavery. So
oh, and you published it too. Oh, this motherfucker's self-reporting. You're right, chat. Oh my god, that's insane. Oh my god.
I'm glad that's something I know, and now so do you. As former Dalton social studies teacher Susan Semel told The Times, Barr was explicitly looking to hire teachers with less conventional backgrounds in the field. And while Epstein was about as unconventional as it got, he was barely 21 years old, had no experience in the world of education. I mean, he's a two-time dropout and would show up to school wearing fur coats and gold chains that would dangle in front of his grossly exposed hairy chest. I'm sorry for the mental image, but I think it's worth illustrating here in detail. His tenure at Dalton, though, wouldn't last long, according to the interim headmaster, who alluded to Epstein's lack of effectiveness. If you ask his students what they
no fucking shit. I don't think his effectiveness is very good. A two-time college dropout, never finished a degree. What the fuck did you think was gonna happen?
thought about the eccentric instructor? The consensus seems to vary. Some described him as caring and attentive, while others recall a clear inappropriateness about the way he conducted himself. It's also been reported that he'd attend student parties where underage drinking would occur, to the point that it would become widely talked about among the school. Epstein's bizarre behavior even made it all the way up to the headmaster that replaced Barr, Gardner Dunnan, whose attorney has since told the Times that he denies being aware of any concerns of Epstein's conduct. That's also worth noting.
Ah, yes, good old-fashioned plausible deniability. I did not know of such thing, for I am but a rodent in the wind.
That Dunham himself was later accused of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old.
I was too busy myself diddling 14-year-olds to notice another man doing the same. How could I possibly have paid attention? Fuck this guy. Jesus.
Epstein may have been out at Dalton, but he sure wasn't down on his luck, struggling to find his next gig either. Ever since the beginning, one of his few talents may have been his ability to suck up to the gaggle of powerful people in his vicinity. Robert Couturier, an interior designer who knew Epstein during the 80s, told Vanity Fair in 2021 that Epstein was a flatterer, with a woman named Leon Koppel telling the Miami Herald to give Jeff credit. He knew how to woo people, how to schmooze, and she would know her father Ace Greenberg is the one who gave Epstein a job at Bear Stearns, a now failed investment bank on Wall Street. Greenberg, a Bear Stearns chairman who was reportedly introduced.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, he max statted charisma. He max statted charisma. Fuck his D&D sheet, man. Holy fuck.
To Epstein through Dalton, was clearly fascinated in the young teacher and saw great potential for him in the economic world despite his lack of experience in, well, anything that wasn't sniffing the farts of the most powerful people in the room. Something I find odd is that Epstein miraculously kept finding himself in these highly desirable job positions when he was less than qualified to fulfill them. He was a lackluster candidate at best, yet he was still, for some reason, being paid by billionaires like Leon Black extraordinarily well, better than most money managers would have been getting paid, in fact, begging the question, what exactly made Epstein so uniquely appealing to these people? I mean,
do you think that, remember how earlier talked about how, like, oh, the one dude was like, oh yeah, I met girls through him? Do you think that's what he did to get higher positions? He would interconnect them with solicitations of sex from minors, and thus they would pay him out via his job, and so it looked legally fine. That way, like, since they paid it through his job and through, like, the legal process, they don't have to worry about it being done through, like, externally. Like, that's, right? Wouldn't that be the best way to, yeah.
They could have hired anyone in the world to do a better job for a way lower rate. It doesn't make sense. But Black and Greenberg weren't the only fans of
I think it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, like, as he was, they're paying him for other services, but putting it in as if he was being paid for that position.
20-something.
Yeah.
Even the future CEO of Bear Stearns, James Kane, was happy to take Epstein under his wing during his time at the firm, as Time magazine reported that Epstein worked his way up from a lowly junior assistant to a floor trader before becoming a limited partner in 1980. The same.
Sure, they aren't paying him to have sex with minors. No, I'm saying is that they're paying for themselves to have sex with minors, but having him do the interconnections. Since he's the one with the link to actually soliciting minors, that they would do it via him. Because another person prior in the interview said that they met women through him. Right?
Year, Cosmopolitan crowned him Bachelor of the Month, with this little magazine snippet that claimed the 27-year-old talks only to people who make over $1 million a year. If you're a cute Texas girl, write this New York dynamo at 55 Water Street. All I can hope now is that no Texas girl actually did that. He left the next year to start his own thing, but continued trading with Bear Stearns until their collapse in 2008. Around the time Epstein was experiencing somewhat of a collapse of his own, but don't worry, he'd still have plenty of ways to move massive massive hordes of money around all the way up until his death. But let's just put all of that to the side for a second. First, talk about one of Epstein's more lucrative connections he made up until this point. A peculiar little character by the name of Les Wexner, whose real-time net worth hovers around a humble $6 billion, is the 86-year-old founder of a global retailing empire. Launching the clothing company The Limited all the way back in 1963, Wexner went on to make a series of business acquisitions that allowed his influence to expand exponentially over the following decades. He acquired Victoria's Secret in 1982, Abercrombie & Fitch in 1988, Bath & Body Works in 1990, and by 2003, Fortune magazine considered Limited Brands the most admired specialty retailer in the world. And at that point in time, Wexner's financial manager was none other than Jeffrey Epstein.
His ties to Columbus native Wexner.
Another thing about all that too is that his acquisition of brands was that he would he would monopolize a lot of that shit, buying up other competitors and then like having it all be under his brand as well, so that way he could just write up his own market. It was just so fucking stupid.
Have been brought into the national spotlight.
Billionaires doing
The
billionaire
genesis
things.
of Epstein and Wexner's decades-long close friendship is somewhat of a debate due in part to how murky Epstein's life became after leaving Bear Stearns, but also thanks to Epstein's conflicting answers as to which year the two buddies officially met. First bragging about the investment advice he gave to Wexner in 1986, only to seemingly backtrack and say he didn't begin advising him until 1989, actually. Regardless, Wexner didn't shy away from describing to Vanity Fair just how close the two were, calling Epstein very smart with a combination of excellent judgment and unusually high standards. Whatever that.
He thinks Epstein is very smart with a combination of excellent judgment and unusually high standards. But surprisingly, an unusually low age range. Crazy how that works, huh?
Smart with a combination of excellent judgment and unusually high standards. Whatever that means. But then again, this was his, quote, most loyal friend, at least in 2003. And I know you may be wondering, hey, this was years before Jeffrey Epstein got publicly exposed as a serial sex trafficker, so is it really that fair to criticize the guy if he didn't know Epstein was bad until at least 2008? And I might agree with that, if Wexner hadn't been so personally involved with the man to the point where Epstein reportedly told a friend that Wexner knows everything about me. He knows every experience I've had. With Vanity Fair also noting that Wexner was warned hundreds of times by Robert Meister, who originally introduced the two men, to drop Epstein after learning about his sexual proclivities before 2008.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Ah!
But it wasn't just Meister sounding the alarm bells. Harold Levin and Jerry Merritt, who both worked for Wexner, told Vanity Fair they too warned their boss of Epstein's shadiness. Yet, despite it all, to this day, Wexner denies knowing anything about his
Bro.
But that's my bestie. No. You're lying. That's my bestie.
Everything comes out. I don't know. What? That guy? No. What? Him? No. Fucking stupid.
Or best friend's criminal behavior, telling employees he was never aware of the illegal activity and would never have guessed that a person I employed more than a decade ago could have caused such pain to so many people, even though he
no longer calling him a best friend and they know everything about each other. No longer that, but someone I employed years ago. A decade
would
ago.
have known exactly that. In fact, I find it basically impossible for Wexner to not know that his, quote, most loyal friend had been going around and lying to women about his relationship with Victoria's Secret by falsely labeling himself a modeling recruiter, according to one police report, which also included the claim that Epstein had groped model Alicia Arden in 1997. And that's not to mention when a year prior, an artist named Maria Farmer reached out to authorities claiming Epstein had assaulted her while working on Wexner's Ohio Ohio property. She filed a police report, but somehow Wexner never caught wind of any of that, I guess, and didn't cut ties until 18 months after charges were brought against Epstein in Palm Beach. In fact, Epstein not only remained Wexner's power of attorney for almost 2 decades, he also served as a trustee on the board of the Wexner Foundation, oversaw the construction of his super yacht, and even drafted a prenup for Wexner and his wife. And if that wasn't enough—
sorry, like... Yeah, we used to eat together, shit together, sleep in the same bed, spoon at night, fuck the same 12-year-olds. But my God, I had no idea. Who could have guessed such a crazy thing would happen? I just didn't know. I employed him like 10 years ago. I didn't know him like that.
Wexner would reportedly sell Epstein a Boeing 727 for $10 million in 2000, and also allow Epstein to take possession of his multi-million-dollar Upper East Side mansion for the low price of free, which is a long way of saying that there's a special place in the afterlife for Mr. Wexner.
Yep, true shit.
While we're on the subject, one of the greatest mysteries surrounding Jeffrey Epstein to this day is where he acquired the massive fortune he used to bankroll his decades of international criminal activity. He's usually referred to in the news as a billionaire, but we really don't know how much money he exactly had at his peak. Prosecutors in 2019 estimated he had a net worth of at least $500 million, but the fact that we have no definitive explanation for where any of that really came from should infuriate everyone watching this. Now, Wexner is commonly speculated to at least be in part responsible for the digits in Epstein's bank account. After all, he did claim Epstein misappropriated vast sums of money from him and his family only after his, quote, most loyal friend's arrest, of course. But even if Epstein ripped off one of Wexner's charities for a quick and easy $46 million, that would barely account for the rest of his gargantuan wealth. So naturally, people are kind of forced to just guess. Some of the current acting theories have to do with blackmail, which we will explore in part 2, money laundering, and his possible connection to one of the largest Ponzi schemes in American history.
Oh my God. Bro literally took a hat, put just dog shit things he could do, and just started yoinking out names, bruh. What? That's insane. Like, what can I do to... Man! Like, fucking hell. It's so good.
See, there's a little gap in the resume we've discussed so far. After working for Bear...
This is motherfucker working with Bernie Madoff. Maybe. At that point, maybe.
Les Wexner's appointed hatchet man, Epstein began his own consulting firm, working as a bounty hunter, in his own words, to help clients recover stolen money, which further brought him into contact with some very rich individuals, claiming he wouldn't do business with anyone not a billionaire, even brushing elbows with members of international governments, as Vanity Fair wrote in that 2003 article. Maybe this is why law enforcement discovered a mysterious passport after a raid on his home in 2019, which exhibited Epstein's image next to a fake name and a noted place of residence in Saudi Arabia. I promise we'll get to the Ponzi scheme thing in a second. Okay, we're almost there. His lawyers at the time said he needed this fake ID for protection as a Jewish person traveling regularly to the Middle East. Why was he going to the Middle East, you ask? Well, one of Epstein's clients at this time was identified by journalist Vicky Ward as Adnan Khashoggi, who, among other things, was a middleman in the Iran-Contra scandal who helped smuggle cash for the Marcos family out of the Philippines. During his travels overseas is where Epstein was reportedly introduced by alleged arms dealer Douglas Leese, known for his involvement in a multi-billion-dollar weapons deal between Saudi Arabia and the United Kingdom, to American businessman and future convicted fraudster Stephen Hoffenberg. Hoffenberg, over the next several decades, would spend 18 years behind bars for his involvement in a $475 million financial scheme that he now says Epstein masterminded. Okay.
Alright, it's kind of fucking funny to be like, yo, scapegoat this dead ass motherfucker for real. Like, that's a little funny though. Like, I know he dog shit, but imagine just a dog shit human being a little extra dog shit, being like, oh, he dead. Anyway, so he did it. Epstein ate my homework.
Okay. See, I told you we'd get to the Ponzi scheme thing eventually. It just took a minute, but thanks for sticking by. Hoffenberg told NPR in 2019 that he considered Epstein to be brilliant, extraordinarily gifted and talented in convincing people to buy from him. And also he was a
Yeah, you know what? This actually checked out. This actually checked out.
criminal mastermind, by the way. The criminal enterprise that Hoffenberg is describing rather openly here went by the pretty uncreative name of Towers Financial. Hoffenberg and his self-described best friend, Epstein, who worked as a paid consultant through the 80s and
This
90s,
motherfucker had a lot of best friends, man. This motherfucker had a lot of best friends.
Of people on Wall Street, investment people that raised these $1 billion illegally, as Hoffenberg told CBS News, feeling the need to emphasize he was my guy, my wingman, which is personally not a term I would use to describe Jeffrey Epstein in any circumstance, but over the course of 5 years, prosecutors allege the company raised 9 figures, almost $500 million of investors' money by selling them fake bonds. They'd then use the money to repay earlier investors while pocketing the difference. A classic Ponzi that you may be shocked to hear lasted as
all I can think about is, you know, one like Twitch streamer. He still streams to this day. What the fuck was his name? Slicker? Where he would like, but instead of like giving them fake bonds, he just like ask for money from people, pay off the people who had influence. Oh, do you guys not know about that? So there's this Twitch streamer named Slicker. He got permabanned from this platform. And then he now streams on Kick. He's a degenerate gambler who owed over $250,000 to people. He even borrowed money from a girl who was battling cancer. And I don't even know if I call it borrowing, because he had no intention to ever pay it back. So what he would do with a lot of these people's money is he would go degenerately gamble it, and then he would take out loans from other people to pay off other influencers he borrowed from. Yeah. So, like, totally insane shit. Oh, Andy claimed it was for his own mom's cancer treatment. Yep. Did he borrow from Ludwig? Yeah, he borrowed from Ludwig. I know he borrowed from Minx as well. And I'm pretty sure Ludwig and XQC both paid off all of his victims. So, those two paid off all his victims. Slicker got banned on Twitch. And now he streams on Kick. With no repercussions for his actions. Nothing bad happened to the dude. All that happened was he moved platforms. And someone else paid his debts. Nice. Fucking love that. Love that. Like, oh my god.
As long as it did, but keep in mind, this was a pre-Bernie Madoff era, so a financial fraud of this scale was almost unheard of in the early 90s. The strangest part of it all, however, is that despite multiple parties being so able to recall Epstein as a prominent component of the Ponzi scheme, Epstein himself was never charged alongside his buddy Stephen Hoffenberg, who pled guilty to 5 criminal charges in 1995. As Terrence Corrigan, a lawyer representing over 2,800 people defrauded by Towers, told CBS, as I understood, Epstein was sort of a senior VP. If he was not the number 2 guy, he was certainly the number 2 or number 3 person at the firm. I know we saw organization charts, and yes, Epstein's name was on them. With another attorney, one representing Towers Financial, reinforcing Corrigan's memory. Epstein was a consultant at Towers Financial. I met him there and I drafted a consulting agreement as I was an attorney at the company. I remember him. Epstein was even mentioned in a lawsuit against the company filed by the Illinois Department of Insurance, who, now you're probably wondering, why was Illinois involved? Well, they claimed Towers had carried out an illegal transfer that violated Illinois law. As you can see here, Epstein's name appears in their documents multiple times.
Yeah.
Yet for whatever reason, Epstein never once appeared as a defendant in the 1993 federal case against Hoffenberg. Although Hoffenberg's testimony to the grand jury included mention of Epstein being the mastermind behind the whole thing, as reported by Julie K. Brown, Epstein was nonetheless dropped from the case for reasons that are still unknown today.
Dude, like, how? Dude. Yeah, paid his way out. Holy fuck, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. Is we gotta just my brain melted.
While Hoffenberg was awaiting a jail sentence, Epstein was busy frolicking around the White House and schmoozing power brokers at dinners and events like the White House Historical Association fundraiser in 1993, which included such beautiful guests as Clark Clifford, a man responsible for establishing BCCI in the United States. BCCI, which we definitely don't have enough time to dive into here, was an international bank used to transfer dark money between international governments later found to be involved in a litany of shady activity ranging from money laundering to illegal weapons sales to human trafficking. Clifford himself had charges brought against him that would be dropped not because prosecutors thought he was innocent all of a sudden, but because of Clifford's poor health the same year that he attended this fundraiser with Epstein. Frankly, the idea...
Yeah, but he had a cold. He was a little sicky poo, so I don't think we should show up to charges. He got a little bit of the sniffles.
Yeah, he had the sniffles. Someone else said it in chat too. Yeah, we said the same shit.
The idea that a man accused of helping to facilitate one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history could avoid prosecution and immediately pal around with some of the wealthiest and most powerful people in the country at an exclusive White House fundraiser is enough to turn anyone into a conspiracy theorist. Other than that 2003 Vanity Fair puff piece and a glowing profile in New York Magazine that we will get to in a bit, Epstein had lived much of his life in the shadows since the early 80s, making it all the more tricky for investigators and journalists to track his elusive movements. A lot of the insight we now know is thanks to Miami Herald journalist Julie...
I think that's like one of the smartest things to do if you're a shady fucker, right? I think there's too many times where we see egomaniac shady fucks who are just so publicly spotlight pilled to the point where like they like that it's one or the other. Either you have so much social influence they can't take you down because your social influence is too high, or you're so behind the scenes and so covert that it's hard for them to get shit on you because there's nothing in public record. A lot of it's done behind closed doors, right? It's either one. So it's like it's interesting to see like which way people power play to like get away with dark shit.
Kay Brown, who presents an extremely comprehensive timeline of events in her excellent book Perversion of Justice, which I read in preparation for this video and would recommend to anyone looking to learn more about the Epstein story. Brown, who has covered the story extensively for years now, writes that the earliest instances of Epstein's sex crimes against minors date back to the mid-90s, when, at a Michigan summer camp in 1994, he and his then-girlfriend Ghislaine approached a 13-year-old child. According to the Daily Mail article Brown cites here, the anonymous girl's mother says she looked even younger than she was. Then, years later, when Ghislaine's trial was underway in 2021, one of the lawyers representing the now convicted trafficker wrote this young victim's story off as the result of her own conduct, and that the girl had voluntarily or negligently assumed a known risk, consenting to the abuse.
No. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. I had to run.
A 13-year-old. That is what lawyers representing Epstein and Ghislaine have consistently thought of the hundreds of girls who were systematically trafficked throughout their childhood. So just keep that in mind as we move forward here and discuss Epstein's track record of abuse across the United States. Some of it taking place in New York, some at his New Mexico baby farm, as he called it, and of course a lot of it occurred.
Okay. That's a horribly inappropriate name for a location because you didn't have kids. So what the fuck do you mean by baby farm? Right? Oh, fuck.
Occurring at the Palm Beach mansion he bought in 1990. To understand Epstein's years-long pattern of abuse, we have to establish the location of this 14,000 square foot monstrosity. Unfortunately, the neighborhood that housed Epstein's $44 million oceanfront property was only a short drive away from a much less privileged area of Palm Beach, Florida. Testimony from even more victims.
Oh, so you could solicit so many people because of their low-income area. Oh, fuck off.
Explicitly sought out girls from broken families. Girls who were either homeless or on the verge of homelessness, those who came from tragic backgrounds wrought by addiction, suicide, and abuse already. Girls who lived in trailer homes and were in and out of foster homes. Girls who Epstein knew would not be taken seriously by the legal system. A prediction.
Oh. He's like, oh, it's not just because they're damaged and they need the money. It's because they also won't be fucking believed. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, okay. Oh, it's bad. Yeah. Okay.
That his infamous plea agreement years later would ultimately prove right. And just a fair warning, a lot of this video from here on out will be discussing what victims experienced at the hands.
Oh, okay, yep. Content warning, the remainder of this video will heavily with a discussion of sexual crimes committed against minors. Viewer discretion is advised. This is my warning. Listen, don't be a hero, bro. If you feel like you're not comfortable watching this, that is perfectly fine. I am going to continue it though. So if you don't feel comfortable, that's totally chill. If you want to come back later on, you're more than welcome to. Just making sure the warning is very clear before we continue. And let's do it.
Hands of Epstein and his associates. So if that's something you're unable to listen to, I completely understand, and just wanted to make it very clear before we get into any of the details.
Wow, I really respect Jay Aubrey for that. He did the same thing that I was doing, where it's like you're just really taking the time to make sure it's like not rushing through the disclaimer, just like really taking the time to make sure it stands with people. It's good.
Epstein would employ several tactics to prey on girls who primarily attended.
I also like that he has it sectioned. So if you needed to skip through parts that made you uncomfortable, you could easily do that because he has it all chaptered. It's very nice of him.
Gardens High School, Lake Worth Middle School, and Royal Palm Beach High, which the Palm Beach Post named Ground Zero in Epstein's operation. One of those girls was Michelle Licata, who was just 16 years old when she was approached by a friend at school in the days leading up to Christmas, 2004. Michelle, who recalled to ABC working at a supermarket and being strapped for cash at the time, was looking to earn some money in order to buy her family gifts for the holidays. According to her friend,
she just wanted to buy her family Christmas presents. That's all she wanted.
All Michelle needed to do was massage an old guy and she'd get $200. This made Michelle curious, and because she was led to believe the massage would take place in a professional environment similar to the spas she had seen in the past, she obliged. It was only on the drive there that Michelle realized they weren't going to a professional facility. They were going to a house. And after finally arriving outside a sprawling mansion in a neighborhood she had never seen before, her friend hastily remarked that the man who lived inside might ask her to undress during the massage. Before she knew it, Michelle was whisked inside and led upstairs by several other women she had never met to a cold, dark bathroom where she was forced to encounter Jeffrey Epstein, lying face down on the massage table, talking on the phone. In that moment, Michelle was lost, confused, and left all alone with a man old enough to be her father. She then goes on to recount how Epstein molested her, noting that his face was enough to terrify her for the rest of her life. After the incident was over, Epstein paid her $200 $200 and asked her to deliver another $100 bill to the friend who had brought her there. She got back in the car and told her friend what had happened.
You think I would give that other $100 bill to that friend? You're not a fucking friend. You lied. And by the time we got there, you mentioned, oh yeah, you might have to undress. So you knew what was going to happen. You fucking knew. You sold your friend for $100. Because you knew that you'd have to undress. You knew what was going to happen. And you knew she would say no to it. So you didn't tell her that prior. Fucking hell. Like...
happened, to which the friend responded, oh, that's okay. He tried to do that with my other friend too, as Michelle told Brown. Interestingly though, as Michelle
He tried to do that with my other friend too. Oh my god, she's pimping out her homies. She did it more than once.
ABC, there were in fact other adults present at the estate. Gardeners, butlers, housekeepers, etc. It's just that they did nothing, as if they were used to seeing such girls come and go all the time. And as everyone knows now, that was the case. He did this frequently.
When Palm Beach police began interviewing teenagers in 2005, they were astonished at what dozens told them about Jeffrey Epstein.
Every girl that meets Jeffrey starts off with giving him a massage. The more you do with him, the more you make. Basically, if you take off your clothes, you're gonna make more. If you let him do things to you, you're gonna make more. I did it naked, but I wouldn't like let him touch me or anything like that. So after that, he's like, you know what? He's like, listen, I'll pay you $200 for every girl that you bring to me.
She's like, oh, you know, do you need to make any extra money?
I'll pay you $200 for every... Oh.
She's like, okay, I can give you, like $200. There's this older guy in Palm Beach. He gets a lot of massages from girls. You know, that was really, that's all she told me. She asked me to take my shirt off, so I took my shirt off, and that's how that was it.
Did you ever take your panties off and could be completely nude?
Every now and then, yeah.
It's like a train. It's like, I introduce them to all my
These are high school
bring her
girls.
friends, and then will bring her friends. It goes on and on.
Having underage girls come to his house to abuse was like a constant need for him, which unfortunately drastically impacted the trajectory of these young girls' lives. One victim by the name of Carolyn, who was abused by Epstein starting in 2001, testified in court that she had become addicted to pain pills and cocaine in an effort to block out the abuse she endured at 14 years old. She claimed to have visited Epstein upwards of 100 times growing up, and that she was at his Palm Beach residence multiple times a week for years. Carolyn tragically passed away of a fentanyl and methadone overdose in October 2023. Although police were able to identify a little over 30 victims in 2015, Julie Kate Brown later discovered through her own research around 80 girls abused by Epstein just in Palm Beach alone. And those are only the ones we know about. Considering the wealth and the powerful connections Epstein would use as leverage over his young victims, it's no surprise that these girls were reluctant to speak with anyone about what had happened to them. Some, like Michelle, didn't even tell her parents until the police came knocking at her door a year later. Even now, there are victims who understandably don't want their identities out there. One anonymous woman in particular outlined these feelings to ABC in 2019. I almost felt scared to talk. Like, was I going to get in trouble? Did I do something wrong that I could be arrested? I was young.
Oh my god, it's so fucked. Oh my god. They were more scared of prostitution charges than they realized. No. You're being exploited. Oh, God. And the hard part is, right, this is 2001. They didn't have the access to, like, smartphones like we currently have to just Google some fuck shit, right? Where they're like, okay, what's the legal ramifications? Am I safe? Because, like, high schoolers nowadays could do that. But they didn't have access to that shit. You don't have that. They're running on like Windows 95. What are we gonna look? What forum are we gonna look up at? Like, there's no way. Like, even oh man.
I had blamed myself for all these years. I was definitely scared to talk, but that's not to say some girls hadn't been talking from the beginning.
farmer says she
Oh,
reported the
talk from the
assault
beginning.
to the FBI, but she told us it wasn't for another decade, just before Epstein's first arrest in 2006, that an agent finally appeared at her door.
Remember Maria Farmer, who I mentioned earlier, how she told police that Epstein assaulted her in Ohio? Well, unfortunately, that wasn't a lone incident. That same year, her 16-year-old sister, Annie Farmer, was also abused by Epstein and his then-girlfriend Ghislaine at their New Mexico ranch, with Annie writing in her diary at the time of how weird it was that Epstein had rubbed her hand and lower leg at a movie theater, before later being instructed by Ghislaine Maxwell to give Epstein a foot massage, with Ghislaine later touching the 16-year-old inappropriately in front of Epstein. Epstein also got into bed with Annie at one point during the trip. Maria's experience in Ohio was similar, with the couple essentially trapping her in the house
Oh, they monsters. Oh, they monsters.
and groping her in unison, mirroring each other's movements, as the New York Times put it. Maria claimed in an affidavit that Les Wexner's security staff essentially kept her there against her wishes for 12 hours after the assault took place. It was at this point that Maria and Annie realized what had happened to one another and tried to take action. Both sisters reported their experiences first to police, then to FBI, who did nothing, prompting the sisters to instead speak with Vanity Fair journalist Vicky Ward on the record in 2002. Being tasked with writing the now infamous profile The Talented Mr. Epstein for the magazine, you would think that Ward would obviously publish the allegations and expose Epstein and Ghislaine once and for all.
Yeah.
Only somehow that didn't happen. Sure, the article did briefly reference Epstein's affinity for, quote, mostly young girls,
Oh my god, dude. Do you know what the worst part is? It's like, I just, oh, it's every aspect is being covered up for him. Every
among
aspect.
a sea of other breathtaking quotes used to humanize the man, such as, quote, Epstein is charming, and, quote, many people comment there is something innocent, almost childlike about Jeffrey Epstein. Making sure to hammer home the generous $25 million donation he had just made to Harvard for the creation of a mathematical biology and evolutionary dynamics program in Epstein's name. The article made zero mention of the allegations Ward had been told by the Farmer sisters. Since the release of this article, the blame for this little blunder has been pointed at numerous parties. Ward blames Vanity Fair's then editor-in-chief, Graydon Carter, for succumbing to Epstein's intimidation tactics.
That's the thing, right? Is that, like, the journalist took the interview, kept it on record, didn't put it in the article, got it changed to the point where it says, oh, he, like, likes younger women. Like, if you're telling me the editor didn't axe your shit, you're wrong. Like, your editor axed your shit so hard to the point where it's a dick riding contest for him. Holy
and
fuck.
not including the allegations out of a combined lack of sympathy for the victims and that he actually believed Epstein's story over theirs. While Carter has referred to,
and that's why he picked those types of women in general. He literally was a predator towards women who he knew wouldn't be believed against his word. That's why. Like, just for fuckers like this, who would believe him over the girls?
Real liar. Isaac Chotiner offered an extensive analysis of the claims made on both sides in his article last year for The New Yorker. I would highly recommend checking it out in full, along with Ward's 2 responses, to get the full story of what happened. But it ultimately boils down to a massive he said, she said. It's true that Carter does have a reputation of repressing stories in the past, and seems pretty biased toward Epstein, according to transcripts released by Ward, but it should also be noted that Ward herself went on to write 2 more controversial pieces on Epstein. One in 2011 that praises Ghislaine pretty heavily, and another in 2008 where she describes Epstein as, quote, perfectly charming, as he has been to me for years now, telling him over the phone, well, I guess you and I have a history by now, huh, Jeffrey? To which he responded, you know how many girls say that to me? In fact, Maria Farmer herself alleges it was Vicky Ward who ratted to Ghislaine about the sisters going to the FBI.
Before all that, I was already in hiding because of Vanity Fair. Vicky Ward is, I'm going to tell you right now, she's a monster. She's a true monster. She's not a hero. We had to send a cease and desist letter because she's harassed my family for so long to try to save her face because she told Ghislaine Maxwell over drinks that I reported them to the FBI.
Holy shit.
Holy shit. And so...
Oh, someone in the background also said holy shit at the same time as me. I was sorry, that threw me off so much because I heard the echo and I was like, was that me? I got confused for a second. Like,
This was in 2002.
But wow.
In 2000. No, please, I cursed my head off. She, for a year, promised us our safety. For a whole year. And see, I didn't meet with Graydon. I met with Vicky. And so Vicky's the one that's responsible here because she was the person who promised us our safety. And she promised us that she would protect the story, right? Since then, she calls and threatens, I own your story. I can write your story. I mean, she's a real piece of work.
Those at Vanity Fair had a responsibility to do right by Epstein's accusers then and provide a voice for the voiceless in 2003. But because they didn't, Epstein was able to continue his pattern of amusing girls for years. One thing I can assure you, though, is that this wasn't the last time Epstein's accusers would be given the cold shoulder by the media.
Oh my God.
In 2019, shortly after Epstein's death, a leaked video would make the rounds online depicting ABC journalist Amy Robach expressing disdain for the network quashing an exclusive interview she conducted with Epstein victim Virginia Jeffery years before the sex trafficker was ever arrested on federal charges. On a hot mic, Amy can be seen here telling her off-screen producers during a commercial break that she had the story 3 years ago, and that the network offered a myriad of excuses as to why they wouldn't air Virginia.
I'm glad she started getting pissy with them. She said, I had this shit 3 years ago. Where the fuck were you? Oh, y'all just shut this shit down?
A story back in 2015.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her.
Oh, that's so sick. Her mic was just still active, so it's all recorded. That's not even part of the news segment.
Whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us in a million different ways.
Look, she's making eye contact directly talking to people. She's not even looking at the camera. She's not doing anything like, oh, fuck.
We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, it was what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying
Oh my God, I started leaning into the monitor. Holy shit, could you imagine? I'm glad she just started being pissed off talking to people around her. She's like, I want you to know, I had X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. I had all this shit done, motherfuckers. I had it. I had it.
Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
A big factor here seemed to be Queen Elizabeth's son, Prince Andrew, whose name you likely associate with Jeffrey Epstein already. It's true the two have been photographed together on numerous occasions. He did say in a hugely infamous interview after Epstein's final arrest that he weirdly did not regret his friendship with the sex trafficker, which is an insane thing to say.
That is
insane. Stepping back from his royal duties in the wake of some pretty understandable outrage. Amy, though, says that it was partly the royal family who applied pressure on the news outlet after learning what Virginia's allegations were. As subsequent court documents reveal, Virginia stated under oath that Epstein and Ghislaine began trafficking her in 2000 when she was still a teenager, and that she was instructed by the pair to have sex with Andrew on 3 separate occasions in New York, London, and on Little St. James Island in 2001, claiming she was paid $15,000 in at least one of these instances. Somehow, as Business Insider recently reported, this allegation was not considered pertinent by the judge in this defamation case, Virginia.
That judge is bought the fuck off. That judge was bought the fuck off, dude.
Against Epstein and Ghislaine. Despite this, widely circulated photos showing a 17-year-old Virginia standing next to Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell just hours before one of the assaults, according to Virginia. But because ABC chose not to air any of this in 2015, these claims were not made public until 2019, to which Buckingham Palace immediately denied just before Prince Andrew made probably one of the biggest PR mistakes I have ever seen in my entire life. This utterly painful interview that has gone on to haunt Prince Andrew ever since was conducted by the BBC in November 2019, advised against by his communications secretary Jason Stein, who notably quit his job immediately after this thing aired, which says enough right there. If anyone was on the fence about Andrew's guilt going into this thing, they certainly weren't anymore.
Actually, it's a very good opportunity, and I'm delighted to be able to see you today.
Oh man, I'm sure you are.
Wait, this is the meme interview. I know the memes from this interview. I didn't even know, like, I don't think I ever saw, like, the actual interview. I just saw memes from it. I never even...
All of this goes back to your friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
It would be a considerable stretch to say that he was a very, very close friend.
About 6 minutes in, we learned that despite visiting Epstein's Palm Beach mansion, flying on the Lolita Express, staying at his New York estate, and taking a trip...
This motherfucker had a plane called Lolly. This motherfucker had a plane called Lolly. I'ma just say it. Yep.
To his private island, Andrew, who was serving on Britain's Full Stop campaign, aimed to stamp out child sex trafficking, ironically, has never once seen any indication of what the financier was really up to. But things only start to get worse when the interviewer asks about Epstein's 2006 indictment, which is also the same year that Andrew invited Epstein out.
No way. What, for the Lolita thing? Yeah, Lolita, if you abbreviate, it's just Lolly.
To his daughter's 18th birthday party across the pond. But even if Andrew was somehow not aware of any investigation by the time he sent that invitation, if he were truly innocent like he claims, he would have officially cut all communication in 2006, you'd think, right? I mean, after the indictment, he's no more talking to the pedophile, right? And that's something he says he maintained until 2010. Keyword there, until 2010.
Well, I ceased contact with him after I was aware that he was under investigation, and that was...
Once I found out about the allegations, once I found out that there's things that I didn't know about him, this motherfucker said, once he was like getting cooked, that's when I dipped. I don't want to be affiliated with that. That's the wrong way to say that. What?
Later on in 2006.
2006, you got your timeline wrong. That means you knew. What are you doing? It's like watching a train crash. What is this? Oh, he's so dumb. Oh, he's so dumb.
And I wasn't in touch with him again until 2010. So, just
This is why I don't understand the point of this interview. You are admitting to millions of people that you knowingly hung out with a convicted pedophile 4 years after you say you cut him off.
Yeah.
Did you just change your mind?
I never let this man cook.
In 2006, but you got a change of heart in 2010, and we're supposed to think you're innocent?
By December of 2010.
Listen, this man has a hard time, okay? He doesn't even sweat anymore, guys, okay? It's just his pores don't allow him to sweat. So how is he supposed to... sweat out the situation? He can't think it over like how we can.
You went to stay with him at his New York mansion. Why? Why were you staying with a convicted sex offender?
Right. Now, I went there with the sole purpose of saying to him that because he had been convicted...
Yeah, I went to his place to tell him that we no longer can see each other. But I stayed there and I took his plane over. But a phone call. I couldn't tell him over a phone call. We were too close of friends. I had to traipse my way over to his place, stay the night, and also let him know we can no longer talk.
It was inappropriate for us to be seen together.
Well, that plan really worked out, huh? You were literally photographed with him on that trip.
I felt that doing it over the telephone was the chicken's way of doing it. I had to go and see him.
That's my favorite part. That's the meme I knew about. Was like, that's what I knew about. I didn't know about like the part where he like gave the timeline that still convicted him. Like that still made him so that he was like actively seeing him and shit. I didn't know about that aspect. I knew about this part where it's like, a phone call is a coward's way. I had to go in person.
Yeah, man, we wouldn't want to disrespect the convicted pedophile, would we?
And
Yeah,
had
we
an
wouldn't want, of
opportunity to
course.
go for a walk in the park. And that was the conversation, coincidentally, that was photographed, which was when I said to him, I said, look, because of what has happened...
We had a little bit of brunch, and then we went for a nice stroll together. And that's when I told him. Oh no, the night that I got there, I said, oh, we're still bestie BFFs. And then in the morning, we went out for our brunch. Over brunch, I still told him, yes, thank you for your time and candor with the 16-year-olds. I had a fantastic time. Then we went out, and when the picture was snapped, was when I finally told him. Fuck you, man.
I don't think it is appropriate that we should remain in contact.
Prince Andrew thinks
we're no longer at the part with the girls. Right now, if you're wondering, for those of you guys who like try to jump back in and check, we're no longer at the part with the victims. We're at the part with Prince Andrew being a fucking dickhead. It's great.
Enough to believe that someone just happened to snap a picture of him during the exact moment he was telling Epstein, hey man, you're a pedophile, we can't hang out anymore. Now, does anyone on the face
Sad
of the
face
earth
emoji.
believe that? You let him throw you a party with all those guests I mentioned earlier.
We decided that we would part company, and I left, I think it was the next day.
Yep, just had to get one more night in at the pedo palace, huh?
Okay, Jay Aubrey actually is fire. Bro. He said pedo palace. Holy fuck, this YouTuber's so good, bro. He's so good.
He didn't go into any great depth in the conversation about what I was doing, or what he was doing.
Very, very unfortunate Freudian slip there.
First time chatter goes, when it's that bad, you dump that ass over SMS. He deserves no time of your consideration of yours. That's just true shit. You spitting, motherfucker. You spitting. That's true shit.
Who advised you then that it was a good idea to go and break up the friendship? Did that come from the palace? Was Her Majesty the Queen involved?
No.
You can tell he's extremely careful in this interview not to implicate the rest of his, well, slightly important family.
The only thing he could do right was, oh my god, I cannot implicate the rest of the family. Oh god. I did cut ties with him and spend 4 years later spend time with him, but my family had nothing to do with watching the story or anything, no.
Almost like he knows he massively messed up and probably did some heinous things behind closed doors, which again begs the question, why did he agree to this interview? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it. I wish everyone involved with Epstein did an interview like this. I keep going, Andrew, this is great.
He threw a party to celebrate his release, and you were invited as the guest of honor.
Oh, it was a small dinner party. There were only 8 or 10 of us, I think.
A guest of honor at a dinner party. And then he goes, oh, yeah, there was only 8 or 10 of us, confirming that he went. And then, oh my god, this motherfucker's drowning. He's drowning. We're watching him drown in real time.
The dinner. If there was a party, then I'd know nothing about that.
You were invited to that dinner as a guest of honor.
Oh, I'm so happy she rephrased it. Because he, is focusing super hard on the party factor. So she just rephrased it. She goes, anyways, so you were invited to that dinner, right, as the guest of honor? Just, one more time.
So there was a dinner. I don't think it was quite as you might put it, but yeah, okay, I was there at a dinner, yeah.
Okay, let's say it was a dinner, okay? You moron. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people came. You were still having a ball, yucking it up with your friends, the sex traffickers.
You said you went to break up the relationship, and yet you stayed at that New York mansion several days. I'm wondering how long.
But I was doing a number of other things while I was there.
But you were staying.
Someone in chat goes, POV, Discord mods trying to defend themselves. Listen, yes, I called her my kitten, and yes, we played Valorant, And yes, when she goes to work, I constantly spam her DMs. But it's not like that. No, she's just my little kitten. She's like, I get it, she's 16, but like, that's legal in like so many states. Like, not my state, but like in her state it is. And which I just want to emphasize one thing very quickly to those of you who are dipshits. The age of sending photos of yourself when it comes to age of consent and sending photos is 18 across every single state in the U.S. All right? Every single state in the U.S., it's 18 for photos, okay? So your age of consent doesn't fucking matter. It's 16! No, doesn't matter. If she sends you a picture, that's actually distribution of CP, and you are obtaining CP and soliciting it. So, yep. 18, bitches.
Staying at the house of
Yes?
a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
Oh man, I love it.
It was a convenient place to stay. Yes, of course. It was just convenient. Oh my god, this is
Just
amazing.
gives up at a certain point. Like, you knew she was gonna ask these questions. Why are you shocked that you're having to answer for your behavior? I mean, he is only a little entitled, I guess. The guy did grow up in a literal castle.
At the time, I felt it was the honourable and right thing to do. My judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable.
You heard it here first, everybody. The honorable thing.
The tendency to be too honorable. So about that 16-year-old. You want to talk about that, buddy? You want to...
To do is meet with a guy you know is a pedophile in person to tell him you can't be friends anymore over the course of a 4-day dinner party extravaganza. I mean, I just can't wrap my mind around this.
So why wouldn't you announce this breakup when you got back? Why wouldn't you publicly explain what you'd done?
Oh, that's a great question. And the answer is because he's lying. He didn't take that trip to break up with him or whatever. That's an excuse he came up with from the looks of it 30 minutes before this interview. But, you know, that's just my guess.
One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts,
Yeah.
has made allegations against you. She says she met you in 2001. She says she dined with you, danced with you at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell, your friend. Your response?
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady.
She just...
I love that the entire time she's saying that shit, he's nodding yes. In the moment where it's time for him to respond, he goes, "Oh no recollection, no." The entire time he goes, "Oh yeah, I know, yeah." I mean, no. Oh no recollection, bro. Control your head movements. What is wrong with you?
described dancing with you and you profusely sweating.
I have a...
Yes, the sweating part. Yes. Okay, chat, if you don't know this interview, this is the best part. This is the best fucking part of the interview, okay? No, listen, if you're not going to take anything else away from this is the moment. It's happening. All right, get ready.
Sweating.
I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was... Oh, actually, yes. I didn't sweat at the time, and it's only because I have done a number of things in the recent past that I'm starting to be able to do that again. So I'm afraid to say that there's a medical condition that says that I didn't do it, so therefore...
So in the midst of...
Bro's anxiety's at a 10. And the way he lied, he got me tripping. Ooh, stuttering. Ooh, headass. I don't sweat my medical condition. I mean, my former medical condition. I mean, my,
very shamelessly lying about his sweating habits. Andrew goes on to rattle off a detailed alibi for himself on the specific evening that Virginia says the assault took place. And that's before he goes on to say that, well, he might have met Virginia. And yes, in fact, he has seen the photograph of the two of them together, but strangely, he's unable to offer a convenient excuse for why such a photo exists. Other than, hey, maybe it's fake, right? And mind you, this was before the days of Midjourney and Dolly, so if there's anyone out there who genuinely thinks this is the result of some master Photoshop work, I'd love to meet them, shake their hand, and ask them to get their eyes checked.
You think it is you next to her in the photo?
Oh, it's definitely me. I mean, that's a picture of me. It's not a picture of. I don't believe it's a picture of me in London, because when I go out in London, I wear.
He can remember what he wears, but he can't remember if he was with the girl that was in the photo. I love it. I love it. This man is drowning live. And it just keeps getting worse. Holy shit.
A suit and a tie.
Oh yeah, here's a photo of him in London without a suit and tie, by the way. He even looks like he's sweating a bit. If the first half of this interview was bad, the second half is almost unwatchable. He's stuttering all over the place, desperately in search for the right excuses, while knowing deep down there is no way he could sell this thing. He's struggling to remember even the most basic details of the defense his team no doubt coached him to say.
When was your last contact with her?
It was earlier this year, funny enough, in the summer.
So even though he had by then been arrested and was facing charges of sex trafficking?
No. This was early spring, I think. It was long.
Oh my god. You let this buffoon take the interview. Oh my god, who's his PR team? Verbal backspace is such a good way to put that. I can't. Oh, it's so bad. Motherfucker started pointing in directions like it would help with the timeline. No, before. I'm trying to rewind this shit. Hold on, before. No. Is this a chalkboard? Is that what?
Because when was he arrested?
July.
No, it was before July.
I'm crying. He goes, when was he arrested? July. No, it was before. Dude, you're the one asking the question. You can't correct someone if you're asking the question, you dumbass. Oh my god, just because it doesn't work with your internal timeline doesn't mean shit.
And that was the last time?
Yeah.
Did you discuss
Ask for a stretch break. Oh my god, we're watching him drown. Ask for a break to stretch or something. A cup of chai. Something. Let his PR team step in. This is insane. I think his PR team told him not to do the interview, but he did it anyway. Are you serious? Wait, is that actually true?
No, actually, funnily enough, no, not at all.
It's just an awesome way to end it. So when did you see Ghislaine? This summer, after Epstein got caught? When was that? July? Oh yeah, that was way before that. Long time before that, I can promise you. Now, I'm sure you already knew, at the very least, that this interview existed. I mean, it's one of the most infamous pieces of television as far as I'm concerned. But what you may not know is that in response to Andrew's claims, Virginia spoke out in her own interview with the BBC the following month. In it, she recalls in vivid detail the traumatizing encounter with the prince, and that all she could remember at the time was that she had just been abused by a member of the royal family. These powerful people were my chains, adding, he knows what happened, I know what happened. There's only one of us telling the truth, and I know it's me. Over the following years, Virginia would file a lawsuit against Andrew specifically, accusing the prince of sexual assault, leading Andrew to hire the same lawyer who went on to work with none other than Colleen Bollinger just last year. But by
Who? The ukulele lady! The ukulele apology lady! That's who, chat! That's who! You don't know? Oh, you fucking know. Chat goes, who? No, you know. You just don't realize you know.
February 2022.
It's okay, Chad. I got you with the info. Don't worry. I got you.
Andrew was forced to pay Virginia an out-of-court settlement, possibly, reportedly.
Do you think he could have saved himself in that interview if he busted out a ukulele? Do you think? Thoughts on that?
Financed in part by the Queen of England herself, who is also said to have contributed millions to her son's civil suit against Virginia, according to the Daily Telegraph. But Virginia's story doesn't end with Prince Andrew. In fact, an entire handful of Epstein's buddies were also implicated in the deposition released in 2019, along with a 139-page memoir written by Virginia, linked in the description below in full. If you take the time to read through all of it, you'll be presented with a first-person account of life inside Epstein's trafficking ring, and how she was first approached by Ghislaine Maxwell as a teenager, assisting her dad over the summer at Mar-a-Lago. With her hopes set on one day becoming a massage therapist, Virginia worked near the spa and would often read books.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. Oh, honey.
Anatomy when business was slow. Virginia describes her first encounter with Ghislaine as follows. A lovely-looking woman in her late 30s who spoke with a proper English accent approached me. I assumed it was a general question like, where's the ladies' room? And was that a fancy model from so-and-so? But she was more interested in the book I was reading. Only believing at first that we were just making small talk, she was really intrigued by my choice of reading. She then asked if I do massages on the side, and I stated I was only reading the book and had not yet begun to study, but one day I would love to practice massage therapy. It wasn't long after that Ghislaine would mention this rich guy who happened to be looking for a massage therapist. Turning her down at first on account of her own inexperience in the field, Virginia eventually ended up accepting Ghislaine's contact information and couldn't wait to tell her dad the good news. We both thought this could be a wonderful opportunity to get my accreditation in massage therapy, she wrote. Seeing that it was a lady in her late 30s who came off as more of a nurturer rather than a procurer, neither of us saw any reason to be hesitant, which I think perfectly encapsulates the way Epstein and Ghislaine would weaponize these girls' personal aspirations against them. They knew exactly how to manipulate the desires and interests of their victims to extract what they wanted. What started off as this exciting chance to pursue her dreams turned into one of the darkest periods in Virginia's life.
But it was supposed to be, you know, a massage therapy. And I thought, wow, that might be a good job to learn. And when I met him, he was just in jeans in front of his mansion and just seemed like a regular guy. I had no idea what was going on.
Virginia describes in vivid detail her first encounter with Epstein, along with her second, her third, her fourth, and so on. Before long, Virginia realized she had become one of Epstein's favorite, quote, new little toys, as she put it in her memoir, and went on to accompany him on frequent excursions all across the world. It was during her 2 years of being trafficked that Virginia claims she was forced to have sex not only with Epstein and Prince Andrew, which on one occasion involved the prince using a puppet lookalike of himself to grope another victim while he touched Virginia with his other hand, but also named a slew of other powerful clients. The list included a Harvard professor named Stephen, another prince whose name she couldn't recall, a Nobel Prize-winning scientist, and an owner of a hotel chain who she described as a short, balding man with straggling remnants of curly brown hair. This...
You know what's the saddest part about this? Is that she was such a kid during all of this that she's like trying to conjure up what the memories of it all, but like she was trafficked for so long. She doesn't understand fully what she was going through. Nor is her recollection going to be as sharp as like you would think it would be because she's a kid. Fucking hell.
Owner, she claims, offered to pay her triple to work for him instead of Epstein. It's important to note here that Virginia was also being given high doses of Xanax during these years, unfortunately obscuring her recollection of
no,
certain
they gave her
specific
benzodiazepines? Oh my god, she was strung out. Oh no.
One person she did mention by name, though, was former Senate Majority Leader and Disney Chairman George Mitchell, who obviously denies the claims. Though according to Virginia's memoirs, as well as her sworn deposition, Mitchell was just one of many recognizable figures of the high society that became added to my list of clientele. Of course, being introduced to for a lot more than just a client of massage. It's important to note here that most victims have testified that massage to Epstein and Ghislaine was code for sex. sex. First meeting Mitchell at a dinner party attended
I
by
hate
other
that.
esteemed billionaires and widely acclaimed scientists, Virginia wrote, "My body was put on the banquet menu." Other prominent figures Virginia named include the late governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, who we also know received thousands of dollars in campaign donations from Epstein, billionaire hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, who Virginia says had sex with her while his pregnant wife was asleep in the next room. His wife being Epstein's former girlfriend, Eva Anderson, by the way. And of course, French modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, who Virginia says she was sent to have sex with at many places.
But one man Eileen Ford does associate with in Paris is this man, the head of Karen Models, one of the largest and most prestigious agencies in the country. His name is Jean-Luc Brunel.
Brunel has always carried a reputation of being an absolute monster, dating as far back as the late 80s when a 60 Minutes investigation spearheaded by Diane Sawyer revealed his habit of drugging and abusing models from all over the world. His elusiveness earned him the nickname Le Fantôme, or the Ghost, by French prosecutors. Brunel is also a noted longtime personal friend of Epstein, with flight logs indicating he took at least 25 trips on the Lolita.
25 trips! Motherfucker get a timeshare on the island at that point.
Express from 1998 to 2005. According to a report from The Independent, Brunel established an agreement that he would use his influence within the world of fashion to scope out underage girls to groom for Epstein, noting that Brunel continued this work even in the years following his firing from his original agency. He simply started a new one.
This motherfucker was a supplier,
of which Epstein invested over $1 million to help get off the ground. Brunel was also known for leaving cryptic messages for Epstein at his Palm Beach residence, according to further unsealed court documents. A few examples that have made their way to the press include, "Just did a good one, 18 years, and he has a teacher for you to teach how to speak Russian. She is 2 at times 8 years old, not blonde. Lessons are free and you can have your first today if you call." Epstein had proudly slept with over 1,000
motherfucker, if you can't write the age and you start writing codes because you can't write the age and you can't actually say what you gotta say, like you're actually Satan. Like you are so far gone.
of Brunel's girls, according to Virginia, who also claimed that Brunel once gifted Epstein 12-year-old French triplets for his birthday. As a part of her sworn deposition, Virginia recalled that Jeffrey bragged after he met them that they were 12.
It's not even a good code. Oh, because no, what you can do is easily say that, oh, the one's missing. It's supposed to be 2x18. 2 18-year-olds, right? You could say that. That's just a miswrite. But if you write down the firm age, then it's a lot harder to say against it. That's why. That's a weird fucker for that.
Year-olds and flown over from France because they're really poor over there and their parents needed the money, adding that she had in fact seen these triplets with her own eyes. She continued, "He was so excited about the entire event, replayed it over and over again over the next course of weeks, how cute they were and how you could tell they were really young. He went on to tell me how Brunel bought them in Paris from their parents, offering them the usual sums of money, visas, and modeling career prospects. Laughing the whole way through, Jeffrey thought it was absolutely brilliant how easily money seduced all walks of life. Nothing or no one that couldn't be bought."
Didn't Hawking also have ties with this guy? Yeah.
To France
Hawking was named.
Was done with them.
We haven't gotten there yet, though, for
Brunel
the Aubrey
unsurprisingly
video.
denied all allegations in 2015, but following Epstein's arrest 4 years later, a new French investigation was launched into the disgraced modeling agent. And in December 2020, Brunel was finally arrested, taken into custody on charges of rape, sexual assault against minors, sexual harassment, criminal conspiracy, and trafficking human beings. While awaiting trial in February 2022, the 76-year-old Brunel was found hanging in his prison cell dead.
He died exactly the same way Jeffrey Epstein did as well, and also that he wasn't necessarily on suicide watch facing these charges.
I know there's some people who like, just when someone dies, you need to respect the dead. Oh my god. Honestly, if I don't fuck you when you're alive, like I don't fuck with you when you're alive, I don't fuck with you when you're dead. I don't give a fuck, man. Like that's just the reality. I hate those people who are like, ugh. Like, what a stupid standard. Also, if you have that standard for yourself, cool. Have that standard for yourself. But I'm not gonna have that standard. If I don't fuck with it doesn't matter, man. We all die eventually anyways. Like, holy shit.
These parallel.
There's definitely some big exceptions like these fuckers. I don't even think that there's exceptions. If you don't like somebody when they're alive, you don't have to be nice when they're dead. Like, you have no obligation to be nice because they're dead. Right? If you didn't like somebody, you can consistently not like them. You don't have to suddenly refrain yourself from talking shit about the person just because they're dead. That applies to people who aren't even monstrous. If you just don't like somebody. Right? But if you want to respect somebody because you respect them while they did shit while they were alive, sure. But I just don't see the point of, like, carrying that over to when someone's dead. Like, what? If someone was like, listen, if, you know, knock on wood real quick. Fucking knock on wood real quick. But if cancer actually beat my ass instead of me beating its ass, and people start talking shit about me online because they're like, fuck that VTuber ass bitch. I don't even like her stupid ass. What the fuck? Right? She could never beat Goku because cancer beat her ass. Right? I don't give a fuck, man. I'm dead. How am I supposed to care? You can't. It doesn't matter. Right? It's like you just like people who you like and don't like who you don't like. Life is not deep enough to care about the nuances of, like, how it affects others when it comes to, like, your perception of shit. That's the difference is when it comes to, like, the situation of life and death is everyone dies. Pay respects to those who actually have a positive influence around you or positive influence in general. If you don't fucking like somebody, you don't need to respect them.
Are so striking.
Shows out to those who either earned it or haven't lost it.
Virginia saw a lot of famous people during her time with Epstein. One being Les Wexner, who she said she had sex with possibly more than 5 times, according to unsealed court documents. Some additional names Virginia mentioned were MIT.
But he had no idea. He had no idea. He employed him 10 years ago. How was I supposed to know? What? I did not know he did such things. I mean, we were besties, but what? Wait, I did it too? I could not, what? That's crazy.
Professor Marvin Minsky, who she says had sex with her on Little St. James Island, billionaire Tom Pritzker, and of course, Simpsons creator Matt Groening, who she claims to have given a foot massage.
What?
Professor Marvin Minsky, who she says had sex with her on Little St. James Island, billionaire Tom Pritzker, and of course, Simpsons creator Matt Groening, who she claims to have given a foot massage during a flight to Los Angeles, recounting how she almost threw up at the shape of his feet. Writing in her memoir, he had yellow, crusty toenails that even someone with a chainsaw would have had troubles cutting through. And then there was the fluffy balls of leftover pieces of sock wedged between the crevices of his sweaty toes. In return, he allegedly compensated her with a drawing of Homer and Bart Simpson made out to her brother and father.
Oh, that's the worst payment I've heard in my fucking life. Oh, that's the worst payment. That's the worst payment I've ever heard. He got hobbit-ass feet. He got orc feet. He got raw orc feet. Holy shit.
The vast sea of names implicated by Virginia, however, there was one very notable person that stood out among the rest.
I don't really know why you like to defend these high-profile clients. Do you regret it at all? And did you ever see anything untoward about Mr. Epstein?
Alan Dershowitz is a criminal defense attorney who has spent much of his life teaching at Harvard.
Man, I fuck with J. Aubrey. I fuck with him so much, man. This video is fucking great. That pause is so good, man. There's some little clips he says sometimes that just they get me. They get me,
In
man.
between representing the most controversial figures he could find, he began his career defending 3 far-right terrorists accused of planting a bomb in the Manhattan office of Emprizio Saul Hurok, successfully getting them off before helping to get another certified good guy off the hook a couple years later. For those of you listening right now, I can't see the screen. It's O.J. Simpson. He was O.J. Simpson's lawyer in 1995, and would go on to provide his services for Mike Tyson during his rape case, Donald Trump during his first impeachment, where he argued it's not illegal for Trump to bribe the Ukrainian president, and was also Harvey Weinstein's lawyer, despite insisting on the view what a big supporter of the Me Too movement he was. In his 6 decades of being a public figure, Dershowitz has also argued in favor of torture during the Iraq War, wrote about lowering the legal age of consent to 16, went to extreme lengths to deny tenure for pro-Palestinian professor Norm Finkelstein after a heated debate the two of them.
Bingo! Sorry. I thought we had bingo cards for all the fucked up shit he did. Y'all get bingo? The free space is being affiliated with Epstein. That's the free space. Everyone else got your bingo cards out, or is that just, who else got bingo?
Had on Israel, and is actually set to defend the state of Israel against
blackout.
allegations
Oh,
of war crimes at the International Court of Justice sometime in the near future. And of course, he was also the lawyer of Jeffrey Epstein, of whom he considered at one point to be a good friend. In fact, when asked if he'd still be close to Epstein in the event the financier could no longer afford legal counsel in 2003, Dershowitz replied, "Absolutely. I would be as interested in him as a friend if we had hamburgers on the boardwalk in Coney Island and talked about his ideas."
Oh man, Coney Island cheeseburgers, bro. We so tight like that. Fuck this guy.
What ideas? When he was writing his book, he told Vicky Ward that the only person he'd send drafts to outside of his immediate family was Jeffrey Epstein. Ward also notes that Dershowitz
also, that accent was not appropriate. It was not, like, sorry, it was not appropriate. That was not accurate to Coney Island's accent. If you want a Coney Island-ass accent, go to that video that goes, bing bong! Fuck your life! There you go.
Thrilled to meet none other than Prince Andrew at Epstein's Manhattan residence one time, even letting the prince hang out in the back of his lectures.
I'm thrilled that all these papers have come out. I urged them. I went to court. I asked for everything to come out because I knew that I had done nothing wrong and the papers would exculpate me. I want to make sure every single document comes out. The public has the right to see everything.
Virginia Giuffre first accused Alan Dershowitz of sexual abuse in a 2014 sworn affidavit, claiming under oath that she was forced to have sex with the professor on at least 6 separate occasions, even appearing to get physically sick as she tried to describe the alleged encounters to attorneys. The first time she ever met the Harvard professor, Virginia said on the record, was at the office of Epstein's Manhattan home, which we know from the Vanity Fair.
Normally I would pause through and read those kinds of stuff for you, but I really didn't want to read those. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes for like, normally when I like go through videos like this, I pause and I'll read what the text says on the screen for you guys. A lot of this stuff is a little too gross. And if he's not willing to say it, I'm not willing to hear it, you know? So we're good.
Article Dershowitz was known to visit. While she stresses it's hard for her to remember things chronologically, she says she is able to recall the most recent time she had sex with Dershowitz, which allegedly happened on an airplane in Massachusetts, as well as the first time in Epstein's bedroom minutes after the financier had left the room. Dershowitz walked in, and Virginia claims they had sex on a red velvet chair. Afterwards, Epstein asked Virginia if he enjoyed it, to which she told him yes. She also claimed that Dershowitz participated in sexual activity in a black limousine involving herself, Epstein, Dershowitz, and another young girl on the way to Dershowitz's house. Virginia also emphasized just how aware Dershowitz was of all the other young girls constantly around Epstein, stating in her affidavit, Dershowitz was so comfortable with the sex that was going on that on one occasion he observed me in sexual activity with Epstein. Virginia also alleged she witnessed Dershowitz.
He was clapping and being a cuck? Oh, fuck.
Dershowitz having sex with another one of Epstein's young victims at one point, a blonde girl who she assumed to be underage. Dershowitz has since lashed out hard against Virginia, who he's referred to as a borderline pathological liar out to destroy his career in pursuit of money. What happened next was a
buddy, in pursuit of money, have you looked at what the fuck you've done? I'm sorry, can we like... Let's rewind that real quick. I'm sorry, you called her the pathological liar that's doing it for money? What the fuck have you done for money? Do you not realize how much, like, what? Man. Walk around like, yo, shit, those stank? The fuck?
complicated years-long series of lawsuits in which Virginia went after Dershowitz for defamation, causing Dershowitz to countersue, eventually concluding with a settlement in 2022. After this settlement, Virginia told reporters that she, quote, may have made a mistake in accusing Dershowitz of abusing her. This has now given Dershowitz the green light to openly parade his supposed innocence in a barrage of media.
No, what?
Media appearances, telling everyone who will listen about how wrongfully victimized he was by an attention-seeking liar, and that this is what finally
Also, someone getting the song reference, W Chatter. But also, fucking hell.
exonerates him. But that's not exactly a fair characterization of the settlement, according to Virginia. As Dershowitz was taking his public victory lap, Virginia told the Daily Beast in an exclusive statement, I was shocked to read that Alan Dershowitz is claiming that our mutual dismissal of our lawsuits against each other somehow exonerated him. The litigation was very stressful and damaging to my family and to my health. We have endured years in which Mr. Dershowitz asserted my charges against him were a lie, made up out of whole cloth, perjury, and part of a purported extortion plot. He has now admitted there was no perjury, no extortion plot, and rather than making up what I said, I honestly believe the charges I made against him. Whether or not Mr. Dershowitz's admissions undermine his previous denials of the charges made against him is for others to say. The settlement agreement limits what I can say, and I will abide by it unless and until I am released from it. However, those admissions are not consistent with exoneration.
I'm glad she clarified to that extent that she's able to.
I can tell you she is still a prostitute. She is selling false stories now for money about me.
Do you have...
If that's your definition of a prostitute, that means you're a prostitute as well in court. If that's his definition of a prostitute, you know what I'm saying?
Any concern calling her a prostitute when she was...
Prostitutes when you lie.
Young age by this wealthy man.
She was not victimized. She made her own decisions in life.
On Skype is what's said. I like how one motherfucker goes, damn, they on Skype. Just dissociated, stoned as shit. Look, dang, that motherfucker's on Skype. Not even...
At the age of 15, some would say that's a
my
little
community,
young,
man.
and that she was taken advantage of.
I'm talking about the age of 19. Look, that's between her and the federal government and the people that she claims victimized her.
For what it's worth, I think it should also be said that Virginia had in fact told several people about Dershowitz being involved with Epstein's operation years before her affidavit. And for Dershowitz's part, it would seem he was totally fine with a friend of his making a quote-unquote joke about Epstein housing young girls in 2014. Virginia also reiterated to the Daily Beast that Mr. Dershowitz sued Mr. Boyce, her lawyer, for charging Mr. Dershowitz with participating in Epstein's sex trafficking and other misconduct. Mr. Boyce did not retract any of those charges, but Mr. Dershowitz nevertheless dismissed his claims against Mr. Boyce. That too hardly seems like exoneration. And if that's not enough, another Epstein victim, Sarah Ransom, also accused Dershowitz of having sex with her while she was being trafficked by Epstein. To this day, Ransom has never retracted her allegations against Dershowitz.
Oh,
All
shit.
The feminist groups and the radicals who think this is the worst thing in the world, that anybody ever had any contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Where are all those radical feminists when it comes to the Hamas rapes of young Jewish girls, sexual abuse?
All right, Alicia Tangent time. I'm going to teach y'all something about feminism versus radical feminism very quickly. This is something that I've seen in my YouTube comments. This is months ago. Just to give an explanation about the differences and what feminism really is. So, feminism in modern day, modern day diction tends to get a bad reputation because of radical feminism, and externally from the conversation being had here. So, what happened is that feminism was meant to be just the equality of like men and women, right? Very similar to how Black Lives Matter is about the equality of everyone, right? And it's how, like, until Black lives are seen to have intrinsic value, then not everyone can matter, because it's becomes the exception to it, right? So, similar concept, feminism has the same stance, where it's about equality, not about superiority of women, not about down-talking men. And the problem with radical feminism, which is just like any other radical group in the world, radicalism of almost any type, in order to fight something, creates your cause to look toxic, right? Think about the radicalized people that you've encountered of almost anything, like even the manosphere, the radicals within the manosphere and stuff too, right? So I think a great example of it is me being like, I'm a feminist. I believe that men and women are equal. I don't believe that all men are shit or anything stupid like that. I think that men are valid. I think their emotions and feelings are valid. I feel like a society has a very hard time discussing men's mental health to the point where men endure such a higher level of stress compared to women, even statistically, that they have a higher heart rate failure, a higher rate of heart disease. Like, that's the extent of how bad it is for men in society right now. And do I believe that women deserve to have an upper hand over men? No, I believe in true equality, where men's health should be taken care of and validated, and women should also be paid the same amount as men in same positions. I myself have been personally a victim of the male industries that caused me to get paid less than a man, even though I was in a higher status position, even though I was the higher person in the situation, the person below me was getting paid more. And I thought, was it a performance issue? But when I went back to check, there was no performance issue. The thing is that it was the industry standard for someone who's a woman in that area, right? And that's what the fight is really about. It's about understanding that feminism shouldn't be this word that we hide from, right? And the fear of calling yourself a feminist is such a stupid idea, right? Because you're like, oh, I want equality. We shouldn't have to call it feminism. Why is the word feminism such a scary word to you? Because the association of like women or feminine or just being feminine in general is such a taboo, cringe thing now, which is sad. It's sad because we're so online pilled that we see all of these toxic ass radical feminists, because rage bait is one of the best click-through impressions that happen in the online space. There's so much rage bait that we see all of these terrible human beings who are belligerent towards men, who try to act like women are superior, and you see those motherfuckers and you go, I'm not a feminist, I don't associate with that. But like, bro, it's not about that, right? It's never been about that. Those are just fucking weirdos. So like, just being real with y'all, if you're scared to use the word feminist and you have to use other words to avoid you calling yourself a feminist, just think about it for 2 seconds. Why is that word so scary to the point where you don't want to associate yourself with it? Right? It's because radicalism has shifted the worldview. And that sucks. Anyways, so him starting to just use fucking hot topic words like, the radical feminists, why are they targeting him when they could be targeting other people? Dude, no one's talking about the other people. It's kind of like when someone, oh man, have you ever had someone in your life be like, oh, you're hungry, huh? Oh, you're so starving. Well, have you thought about the poor kids in Africa? Some dickhead who said that to you in your life or another. It's never about what's going on with somebody else. You're just talking about your current situation. And it's like, if you have to start pulling in comparisons to make your point feel valid that are external to the causation of what you're dealing with, you're a fucking dickhead. Because they're not even in the same realm of conversation. You just can't deal with what's currently happening to you. Anyways, so that's what this reminds me of. It's not saying that the other thing isn't a problem. It's saying that you're pulling the external thing to make sure that it belittles what you're currently dealing with. But they're both issues. You still hungry? Like,
beheadings, they are quiet. They are silent. The incredible hypocrisy of the Me Too movement. Me Too, except if you're a Jew.
One of the first times Jeffrey Epstein made national headlines was in 2002, in this article written by Landon Thomas Jr., who, by the way, would also go on to write an extremely positive piece for the Financier after he was sentenced for procuring an underage girl for prostitution, and before getting fired from the New York Times for admitting he was still friends with the convicted pedophile. Oh, he also asked Epstein for $30,000 in 2017, according to the Daily Beast, so that's fun. Pretty normal guy. Anyway, in this article, he uses language like he collects beautiful minds, and Epstein brings a trophy hunter's zeal to his collection of scientists and politicians. And that last part certainly isn't wrong, as subsequent data from the Center of Responsive Politics shows Epstein donated to a litany of politicians from both the right and the left, including Chuck Schumer, Bob Dole, Bob Packwood, Elliot Spitzer, and even former President George H.W. Bush. But of those names is a politician who's long been associated with Epstein since the mid-90s, someone who Virginia says she met on Little St. James, and someone who's already been caught lying about his connection to the late pedophile.
Newly released Jeffrey Epstein court filings revealing more alleged ties to many people, including Bill Clinton.
Epstein was hanging around the 42nd president as early as 1993, a month after he was sworn into office, according to visitor logs provided by the Clinton Presidential Library. Epstein and Ghislaine visited again in September of that year after Epstein made a $10,000 donation to help refurbish the Oval Office, according to this letter from Bernard R. Meyer, the VP of the White House Historical Association, thanking Epstein for his generous contribution. Overall, it's been reported that Epstein visited the Clinton White House a grand total of 17 times, accompanied by 8 women, 4 of which being former girlfriends, according to these logs, which show that Epstein popped in and out of the White House twice in one day on 3 separate occasions, though there seems to be no stated purpose for any of these visits. Clinton also attended a 3-hour private dinner hosted by former Revlon owner
Bill visited the island over 20 times? Fuck, man. Oh. Yo, him and the Phantom? Should have shared a timeshare. I still stand by the timeshare thing I
Ron
said.
Perlman and other elites in Palm Beach in 1995, a meeting that Clinton had not mentioned until a 28-year-old newspaper snippet obtained by Snopes confirmed it. In the wake of the Epstein story being revitalized by his arrest and death in 2019, Clinton has taken very conscious steps to distance himself from who he once called a highly successful financier and committed philanthropist. After all, Epstein's own lawyers asserted in court documents that Epstein was part of the original group that conceived the Clinton Global Initiative. A fun fact about the Clinton Global Initiative, by the way, is that they once endorsed the Terra Mar Project, an environmental NGO with the self-stated goal of conserving, protecting, and improving oceans, seas, and coastlines. Who founded the Terra Mar Project, you ask? Great question. Let's check. Whoops. I mean, Snopes has verified that Ghislaine Maxwell did also attend Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010, featured right there in the middle. Not even in the background or anything. I didn't even want to hide it. After all, though, she did take the president's daughter out on a yacht trip a year earlier in 2009. Epstein was literally serving a jail sentence.
But it wasn't like that, I swear.
While at the same time, the woman who helped him find victims was taking the president's daughter on a trip through the open seas. But whatever, I'm going insane. Let's take it back to 2002, when Landon Thomas Jr. wrote for the first time about the Clinton-Epstein World Tour extravaganza the two men embarked upon, visiting New York, Paris, Bangkok, Brunei, Norway, Morocco, Brussels, and need I go on, all in hopes of providing humanitarian aid for continents like Africa, spreading democracy, empowering the poor.
Oh my god. This is
combating HIV and
my
AIDS,
anxieties
according
went
to
to
a
hit a
Clinton
10.
spokesperson shortly after the trip. Some of the other notable passengers on this famed international excursion included the likes of Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey, who you can actually see sitting here on Queen Elizabeth's throne next to Ghislaine. According to the Daily Telegraph, they were taking it.
Not Chris Tucker! What? No! No! Kevin Spacey, yeah, like, obviously, right? Like, no one's surprised by Kevin Spacey. But, Chris Tucker, no! You know what I mean? Like, one of those was surprising. The other one we knew. But no!
Tour of Buckingham Palace led by Prince Andrew. I love recurring characters. In fact, despite Clinton originally insisting he had only taken 4 rides on the Lolita Express, flight logs indicate Clinton actually
I just read the most white thing in my chat I've ever read in my fucking life. I'm gonna die. Oh my god. Oh no. 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 He's my kicker. I'm tempted to ban you. from cringe. Like, just the cringe level was so high. Listen, the one thing I love is when what like bro. Oh, no. He says he's not white, Alicia. My apologies. My apologies, dear friend. A race that is not black. Chris Tucker! I want to say the N-word, but I don't have the pass. How do I get there? How do I get there? I'll find a way.
Took at least 26 rides on Epstein's private jet shortly after leaving office between 2001 and 2003, an assertion that he still has not directly responded to. You wonder why that is. It's pretty out of character for him to lie to the American public, I think we all know. Virginia has never made any allegations of wrongdoing against Clinton himself, but her assertions do go a little further than what the former president has admitted to doing. Virginia stated in her sworn deposition that she personally met Clinton on Little St. James Island at least twice during her travels with Epstein, something that Clinton has long denied across the board, describing in her memoir an alleged dinner where there were only a few of us eating at the dinner table. There was Jeffrey at the head of it all, as always. On the left side was Emmy, another Epstein recruiter, Ghislaine, and I. Sitting across the table from us was Bill, with two lovely girls who were visiting from New York. Bill's wife, Hillary's absence from the night made it easy for his apparent provocative, cheeky side to come out, teasing the girls on either side of him with playful pokes and brassy comments. There was no modesty between any of them. We all finished our meals and scattered in our own different directions. Strolling into the darkness with two beautiful girls around either arm, Bill seemed content to retire for the evening. Now, to Clinton's credit, flight logs obtained through an FOIA request have presented no evidence that he attended the island. Now, yes, he flew with Epstein more times, way more times, than he originally cared to
26 times later on. I just said on screen. Okay.
admit. But those same flight records also don't do a lot to imply he ever visited Little St. James. But along with Virginia's sworn deposition, we also have former Clinton aide Doug Band, who Clinton kept in his inner circle even after leaving the White House. Band himself has even flown on the Lolita Express with the former president, just to give you an idea of how close these two were. Band has also alleged for years that Clinton has in fact visited Little St. James, specifically in January of 2003. Band did not attend this alleged visit. As he told Vanity Fair, it was one of the few trips he declined. It's worth noting the Clinton camp has provided details.
Listen, I might have gone there every single time, but feller, I did not go the one time that he went to Little St. James. Every other time I went, sure, but I declined that one. Fuck off, man.
Detailed travelogue entries of the period in question that do not contain a visit, as Vanity Fair goes on to clarify. But then you have Steve Scully, a former employee of Epstein's in charge of the island's telecommunication for 6 years, who not only claimed to have seen Prince Andrew groping and kissing Virginia near a pool, he says, but also stated in the Netflix documentary Filthy Rich that he once witnessed Bill Clinton sitting on a porch on the island next to Epstein. Virginia only doubling down in the documentary with, "I remember having dinner with Clinton. He was there and I never saw him do anything improper. I wish, he would just come clean about it, like, yeah, I was there, so what? Who cares? I didn't see anything going on."
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No.
I'm sorry, that motherfucker smiles like a player, dude. That motherfucker smiles like a player. That was creepy. I'm sorry. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell. Oh, fuck. I hit the big back button. Oh, fuck. I hit the... Son of a bitch.
Doubling down in the documentary with, "I remember having dinner with Clinton. He was there and I never saw him do anything improper. I wish, going on."
I was supposed to use the little comma and period thing back and forth, but I forgot and I hit the big button. Fuck.
Now, I don't think I have to tell
Nice
you.
wallpaper, thank you. Oh my god, thanks. This is made by Hero Side. They're one of my favorite go-to artists that I go to. Thank you.
That Republicans with a hate boner for Clinton have absolutely done everything they can to emphasize his murky relationship with the billionaire, or millionaire. I guess we don't know how much Epstein was really worth. And I don't think there's anything wrong at all with bringing up those connections. I mean, you should ask questions about it, especially when you consider Clinton has lied about it. But those on the right who only single out Bill Clinton's relationship with Epstein should probably look in the mirror.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years.
As Landon Thomas wrote in his New York Magazine profile, Epstein likes to tell people that he's a loner, a man.
It's time, boys. It's time.
Who's never touched alcohol or drugs, and one whose nightlife is far from energetic. And yet, if you talk to Donald Trump, a different Epstein emerges.
I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific.
This impression's crazy. This impression's crazy.
Guy.
Trump booms from a speakerphone.
He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side, no doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life.
Sorry for doing the voice. I couldn't quote him and not do the voice. This quote, which again dates all the way back to 2002, is remarkable considering what Trump has said about Epstein more recently, assuring journalists in 2019 from the White House that
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
So was he just being a fake friend all along then? You were fake for 15 years? You said he was a good hang. Alan Dershowitz, who of course represented both men in court, told the New York Times that in those days, if you didn't know Trump and you didn't know Epstein, you were a nobody. I didn't even know this until researching this video, but apparently Epstein liked to say he was the one who introduced Donald Trump to Melania, according to Vanity Fair, which also reported in 2021 that Ghislaine kept up to 16 of Trump's phone numbers in the infamous Little Black Book. She would also invite the future president to dinners and events all over the state of New York, their most infamous get-together being caught on this now widely circulated video of an extremely coked-up looking Trump clapping and dancing and whispering into the ear of Epstein, who he's not a fan of, by the way. The pair standing in front of a swarm of young models at a private Mar-a-Lago party and seem to be having a grand old time. I'm sure you've seen the video, but what you may not know is that the same year this was filmed, Trump and Epstein held another private party in Palm Beach where 28 women were in attendance. The only men at this party, though, were Trump and Epstein. At least according
Yay.
According to the man who supplied the women. George Horaney of American Dream Enterprises tells the New York Times that he actually warned Trump of Epstein's proclivities toward young women. Asking Trump in disbelief, "You're telling me it's you and Epstein? I know Jeff really well, and I can't have him going after younger girls." While Horaney says he had to ban Epstein from events, Trump didn't care about that. A claim that goes directly against what one Trump campaign manager later said, which is that Trump did eventually stop letting Epstein hang around events because he was too creepy, which in my opinion is a little out of character.
Dang, only if he was only if he was able to not sweat as well, you know?
For Donald Trump. It's hard to deny Trump's reputation with women, especially younger women, isn't exactly the greatest. There is definitely some indication that Trump was aware of the young girls in Epstein's vicinity. Some insight coming from his future White House aide, Roger Stone, who told the New York Times, in an effort to defend Trump, I think, that the former president once said the swimming pool was filled with beautiful young girls. How nice, I thought. He let the neighborhood kids use the pool after seeing Epstein's home in Palm Beach. And to make matters even more strange, journalist Craig Unger concluded his Vanity Fair examination of Trump and Epstein's relationship.
He let the neighborhood kids use the pool. Yet he also called them beautiful. Alright. Fucking weird quote.
With the following passage. An
that seems
associate
totally
of Epstein's
normal.
who asked
Totally
not to
normal.
be identified told me that Epstein showed him one photo of Trump with a topless young girl. In another, the source said Trump is with two girls.
The only underage person you are allowed to tell them that they're beautiful or handsome is if you have your own child or a niece or a nephew. We're like, oh my god, you're so pretty. Oh my god, you're beautiful. Who's a handsome boy? That's it. That's the line. Otherwise, do not. Stop it. No.
Were said to be laughing as they point out what appears to be a wet spot in an unfortunate location on his pants. The description of the photo suggested that it was a semen stain, but the photos have never been released. But by being in the news, it does feed into what Mark Epstein once reportedly heard from his older brother Jeff when it came to the 2016 election. As Mark told the New York Post recently, here's a direct quote: "If I said what I know about both candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. That's what Jeffrey told me in 2016. What that means exactly, we may never know."
Oh, fuck.
The two New York natives wouldn't stay friends forever, though. While the exact reason for their split is still uncertain, it seemed to happen around 2005 when Epstein threatened to sue Trump over his purchase.
Biden declined going to the island, claiming the girls were too old for him. Did he go like 26 times?
Of a 65,000 square foot property Epstein had set his sights on, which was also once owned by Les
for those of you guys
Wexner,
watching on YouTube, I was reading chat, by the way.
Another fun fact. The thing never actually went to court, but it's been—
Oh, you're making a joke. I was like, what? I got thrown off by that. My bad.
Reported that Epstein himself once theorized that it was actually Donald Trump who tipped off local police in Palm Beach.
Oh, right. You're right. Clinton was the one who went 26 times. How many times do you think Biden went? Let's be honest. He definitely went, right? Like, come on. How many times are we guessing? Is he 0? Oh, is his name not on the list? He wasn't involved. Okay. I like that the reasoning instantly was, he's not rich. I mean, okay. Probably used an alias. That's a real possibility, yeah. Okay, y'all saying some crazy ageist comments. That's wild. Y'all called him old as dirt. Got lost on the way is crazy. Oh, hell no.
As a kind of retaliation for the threat. Sure, we know Trump is a petty guy, but authorities ultimately began looking into Epstein because of what young girls in the community had been saying. Unfortunately for them, the efforts of these prosecutors would tragically prove pretty feckless.
Breaking news in the fallout from the 2008 plea deal involving Palm Beach County billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Just hours ago, Labor Secretary Alex Acosta, as we've reported, vigorously defended his oversight of that plea deal.
Mr. Acosta is doing everything he can to divert attention away from his own responsibility.
And tonight we are still waiting on a statement from former Palm Beach County State Attorney Barry Krischer.
So, this video ended up being a lot longer than I originally planned. I'm afraid if we don't split this into multiple videos, we may not get to cover every—
Epstein's documents don't name Joe Biden or Barack Obama. Barack was probably too busy bombing hospitals, so, you know, it is what it is.
Everything as extensively as I'd like. But you can expect part 2 to explore the horrendous plea agreement that allowed Jeffrey Epstein to avoid life in prison, along with the connections he maintained after he was a convicted sex offender, his second—
Do you know what's crazy about me saying that? Is everybody's like, which fucking way is she politically, man? I can't get a read on this shit. I thought she was— wait, wasn't she left wing? What did she just swing at Obama for? Wait a second. Where's she moving? Gotta keep them on their toes real quick. Motherfuckers went, what? Alicia's pro bashing assholes. Yeah, I am. I mean, okay, if you don't know about the whole bombing the hospital thing, then, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I think that you need to Google on your own time, because I'm really not going to go into kids dying.
arrest
not
in
a vibe for me.
2019, and of course, whether or not he truly killed himself in custody. That video should come out about a week
I also just want to
after—
say the copium that people have towards that bombing is fucking insane. But it wasn't really him, though. Like, you know, it wasn't really him. When you fuck off. You know what I'm saying?
This one, if all goes well. But if not, I'll let you know on Twitter at @JAubreyYT.
Oh!
I don't really end videos like this, so I'm not really sure what else to say other than subscribe to Ground News, read Julie K. Brown's book, and I am having no suicidal ideation.
That's okay. Well, King, I really hope you meant that one.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis?
Someone in chat said can't relate. I was about to say the same thing, but I was like, I don't know if I want to put that in a YouTube video. But then someone else in chat said it, so I feel good to say that now. I was about to be like, damn, can't relate, bestie. But I was like, was that a little too dark? I don't want people to be like in my YouTube comments like, oh, Alicia, are you okay? I don't want to worry people. So that's why I try not to make the joke too often. I make like a kill myself joke like once every like 10 videos. I try not to do it every video, you know? We try to space it out a little bit.
Penis. Your penis is oval-shaped and claim when erect it was thick.
That's crazy. That was a crazy pause. That was a crazy pause. That was a crazy pause. Egg dick.
Towards the bottom. Your penis is oval-shaped and claim when erect it was thick towards the bottom but was thin and small towards the head portion and called it egg-shaped. Those are not my words.
Egg-shaped. No, the chatter is spoiled. It actually is egg-shaped. He's got an egg-shaped cock. Oh, shit.
I apologize. But as Mr. Critton has stated, that this is a... I'm willing to continue.
That was the perfect way to end the video. Genuinely, perfect way to end the video. Oh my god. Oh, he's a George Santos video. I couldn't. If I watched that, I would vomit. That'd be too much for my brain to go through in like one day. Like, oh my god. Because you're gonna show me like the depravity into the fucking idiotic, and I couldn't do it. That combo is just too far for me. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, YouTube. If you listened along because you didn't want to like watch it fully on or have me on another monitor, thanks for watching. Thanks for being super supportive. Hope you hit the like and subscribe button. Please check out the original video. It's linked in the description below. Support the original because holy fuck, this is such a good content creator. I definitely want to check out more videos by him. If you want to see more of like videos of me reacting to him, let me know which ones you're interested in because I would love to check out more of these. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye!